Welcome and thank you for joining us today for National Coffee Day Month chat with Cafe Grumpy's co-founder, Carolyn Bell. So many New Yorkers are longtime fans of Cafe Grumpy coffee, and some of you are just trying it for the first time. But either way, we hope that by joining us today, you will discover a lot more about your coffee, including what makes a cup of Cafe Grumpy coffee so special, how to order the perfect cup at the counter. You'll also learn about Grumpy's coffee producers and how they are supported. And I think we're going to have one of the coffee producers in the audience today. And you'll also get an invite to see Cafe Grumpy's vintage cast iron roaster. It's one of the only ones in New York. And for those who know, Cafe Grumpy is the most non-pretentious coffee experience with fun seasonal menus where people are encouraged to experiment and taste new blends. Cafe Grumpy patrons are also become familiar with the farms and learn about the producers who often come into the cafes for meet and greets. There are Cafe Grumpy locations throughout Brooklyn, Manhattan, New Jersey, and Miami, and in commuter hubs and inside Whole Foods markets. You can also find their beans in specialty food stores like Union Market or Jachiko's and Urban Market. And they're all available online at Cafe Grumpy, along with a brew guide and a coffee buying guide. And if you RSVP'd in time, you'll have received a package from Cafe Grumpy as well as a subscription for a month. So we hope that you're sipping along and that you're enjoying and experimenting with Cafe Grumpy. Hi, Caroline. I think everyone would really love to know how you came up with Cafe Grumpy.
Hi, Pam. Thanks for having me. Welcome, everybody. My now husband and I used to go on coffee dates on the weekend and sort of critique the places and think we should really how hard could it be? We should start something. And from then, I don't know, we just wanted to open something that was welcoming with good quality coffee. And I thought, how hard could it be? I mean, it's been more challenging along the way than we expected, but we've really stuck to sourcing and roasting quality coffee and trying to create a welcoming environment. And each location that we have 12 now, they kind of have their own vibe. Like the beans are the same, but they kind of have their own feeling depending on the neighborhood that they're in.
How long has it been, Caroline?
We opened our first location in Greenpoint, Brooklyn in 2005. And that's right now that's still there. So that's our main, our original store, and we roast coffee down the street from that location. We actually used to roast in the back of that cafe, and then we moved a few blocks, a few buildings away. So we rolled everything down the street. It was kind of funny, very convenient move. But
I just want to point out that as a woman-owned business and independent coffee roaster, that's a lot of coffee real estate in New York City to have. So that's really impressive. Tell us about the beans. How do you select the beans? Because that's really one of the things that really sets Grumpy apart, in addition to the environments that you've created.
Okay. I mean, that's probably my favorite part of the job, being able to choose the beans and be the coffee buyer for the stores and talk to the coffee producers. And we think about a lot of things. Mostly we think about what customers would like to drink and what kind of coffees are the most popular and maybe different origins or countries that they might want to try. And then from there, we usually work with the same coffee producers year after year and keep up the relationships so that our coffee buying is transparent. Our customers become familiar with the names of the farm, and they'll be like, when's this coffee coming back from El Salvador or something like that. And then after that, it's really just talking with the coffee producers and see how the harvests have been, how many bags of a specific coffee they might have available. Obviously, we talk about pricing, and then they will send us samples and we sample roast them, taste them together, decide which selections we might like to order. And then from there, we work with a coffee importer to bring the coffee in. And, knowing where the beans come from is really important to our customers, to us. And also, since we have a roastery, we need to keep great records because we're, part of the FDA and Department of Agriculture. So the more transparency we have, it just along the way, the better for everyone. Yeah. And then right now we were sent a bag of coffee from La Cima, El Salvador, from the Pacas family. And that's a great example of specialty coffee because of all of the work that they do at Origin, the environmental initiatives they have and how they care about their workers. And that is a great example of a producer that we work with year after year, and those kind of initiatives, and that caring about the process is something that we like to bring into like our stores, and like hopefully we can translate that to our customers on the barista level.
Do we have one of our growers here, our producers?
We do, I think we do.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
Hello,
hi.
everybody.
Hi, Maria. Can you tell us, I'm going to add you to the spotlight if that's okay. Can you tell us why you love working with Cafe Grumpy?
Hi, Pamela. Hi, Caroline. Hi, everybody that joined. Well, we have worked with Cafe Grumpy since approximately 2010. So it's a very long-term relationship, a very important relationship for us. And we love working with this type of coffee roasters because they go beyond just sourcing a product that can be considered a commodity, but they want to know more about how the product is produced, how the people where the coffees they buy are treated, how the environment is treated as well. And we have had a great relationship for the past 13 years. Their support means a lot as a company, because the prices that they pay are fair prices, you would say, and most of all, they are stable prices that allow us to know what we're going to get for how much money we're going to get for our coffees, and that allows us to make plans for the farms and for the people working at the farms. So being a coffee producer is a challenging job. My family has been producing coffee for 5 generations. And however, it's also a big responsibility because in my generation, we would like to continue with the coffee producing, and also the impact that coffee has on the environment, not just in El Salvador, but in the world, is something that has to be considered. And companies such as Cafe Grumpy take that all of these things into consideration when they decide which coffee to buy. So for us, it's a really privilege to work with them.
Thank you, Maria. And I appreciate that. And Maria, since you brought up the price of coffee, I'm going to go, ask Caroline if that's okay. A cup of coffee in New York is currently $2 to $5 and up. Can you take us through the anatomy of a cup of Grumpy coffee to understand that cost?
Sure. Thanks, Maria. Yes. And after, you know how much goes into the growing of the coffee, then you still have to get that coffee to New York. So, you'll bring that coffee in, it'll go to a warehouse, and then you'll have to ship that to our roastery, where we'll roast the coffee and bag the coffee, sticker the bags, like so many little steps along the way. And that's even before, it goes out to our wholesale customer or cafes, where the baristas are obviously presenting the coffee, and they've also had their training. So I feel like coffee should be more expensive by the time you're drinking it. I know it kind of, people think, oh, like free refills, coffee should be cheap, but there's so much care that goes into specialty coffee, from like the very, from growing to all the way to the barista skills and presenting it to people. There's just so much that goes into it. That said, you can save 25 cents if you bring your own cup, which is also good for the environment. So, keep that in mind. I think our 12-ounce cup right now is $3.50. So, and also, fun fact, we've stamped every single paper cup that we've ever given to a customer since 2005. So I'm not sure how many cups that is, but every little grumpy face has its own personality. So you get that special touch also. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into coffee and making a good cup of coffee, and being able to like pay tribute to how much work like the Pacas family does to produce the coffee. We want to make sure that we're doing that justice in the roasting process and also in the brewing process.
Let's go back to the roaster.
Sure.
I think you do have one of the only roasters in New York. You're actually doing your own roasting, and it is a vintage roaster. Can you explain that?
Sure. So we're roast on a vintage Probat roaster from 1956. So it has a cast iron drum so that people, coffee nerds kind of like that, and imparts a different kind of flavor profile on the roast, like a depth to it. And we do roasts in small batches, and each batch we will track, like we'll decide on the best roast profile, and then we'll follow that profile for each time we roast it. And we'll keep samples of every roast to like do quality control afterwards. And each batch has its own batch number. So if anyone at the store says, well, hopefully they say, oh, we really like this batch of whatever coffee, we can check the batch number and make a note. Or, obviously sometimes maybe a barista has feedback on how, oh, this espresso is acting a certain way when they're trying to make the coffee drink. So they'll tell us the batch number and we can refer back to that. So it is a whole system of tracking and just a lot of like hands-on work.
And then there's how people order the coffee.
Yes.
There was a question already in the audience. What's the most popular New York order? But had a New York.
Okay.
Order, but
New York, I feel like when I've looked, it's always been brewed coffee, drip coffee, or cold brewed during the summer. We have a store in Miami and Coral Gables, and that's the most popular drink there is a latte. But I feel like people are more into espresso drinks there. But I feel like with New York, it's kind of known for brewed coffee. So. And then we also, we have fun drinks. People like to try specialty drinks. This week we're launching a blackberry latte. So sometimes our baristas come up with little like funky drinks and fun things depending on the season. So we'll try to present those also just as an alternative. Maybe those are more approachable for people that might not be used to specialty coffee, or they come in for the first time and then, they'll try that and they'll move on maybe later to something different.
how do you drink your coffee?
Well, it depends on the time of day. Usually I start with a cappuccino with oat milk, and then throughout the day, if I'm at the roastery, I'm just drinking like cups of brewed coffee. And then we'll have like tastings and cuppings. So it's kind of a nonstop coffee drinking situation here at the cafe. So.
And for the novice, or maybe somebody's like ordering wrong to their, like they just don't know how to order. How do you figure out how to order properly at the counter with all that pressure on you? What you think you like.
I know sometimes you look at the board or the menu board and it's like overwhelming, but I feel like you have to think about like, where are you going with your coffee? Are you going to sit there and hang out? Are you taking it to the office? Do you want to sip it right away? Like if you're sipping it right away, don't order an Americano because it's going to be very hot. So you want to order something different. Do you want something with a little sugar? So I just thinking about like your situation, like where you're going to drink it, how you're going to drink it. Don't be afraid to ask the barista for a suggestion. And, people who even like decaf, we have a great decaf. It's Swiss water processed, chemical free. So we're always happy to have people order decaf too. We don't look down on that. And, we have tea also, if you want to just come in and hang out and chat. So
I discovered through you that I like medium roast. I don't remember if we got to that conclusion, but like, is there any way to tell like what you're going to like, or just do you suggest people just try different?
I feel like it's great to try different things, and you can ask whoever's working in the shop maybe how the beans are roasted. We roast all of our beans medium. So, there's a little bit of a misconception that something darker roasted is stronger. That's not the case. It would be opposite. So I feel like just be open-minded, and it's coffee. It should be fun and approachable, and just, it's part of I hope it's part of everyone's day. That's good for me and good for Maria, good for everyone, but.
And then how do you differ from like, I've always said this, it just tastes better when somebody else makes it for me. So I know we can't teach people today how to make a cup of coffee, but how do you try and make a better cup at home?
I feel like you have to also think, are you making it just for yourself, or are you going to make it for your family? And you can make some really good coffee just with, a regular Mr. Coffee or coffee machine. Just go to your favorite local store and get some beans and fresh beans. Ask the barista what's in right now, what's the most popular. If you want to experiment and try different things, maybe you can do a pour over, so you can just make one cup at a time. We obviously like to recommend people, grind before they brew it, but you can also just have the store grind it for you. And some people like to, do the pour over because it's kind of like a meditative time to prepare their coffee, get ready for the day. Personally, I at home, I use a French press because I could just put it there and like do dishes while it's brewing. So I'm a little bit, maybe it's a little bit lazy, but I also can get coffee at the cafes most days. So I'm lucky. But,
Can we talk about the baristas at Cafe Grumpy? You mentioned barista skills. Can you talk about the Cafe Grumpy baristas? I know I've gone to a Grumpy barista art, coffee art, latte art.
oh, right. Yes, I remember that. That was fun. Yeah, I mean, we have some great baristas, and I feel like it's really important to have people at work that are personable and welcoming, and you know, because they become such an important part of people's day. They're almost like the daytime bartender, sometimes a therapist, and obviously they're giving, people are coming in before they have their coffee, so they have, you know, that's a challenge sometimes depending on your day or what you're going to do that day. So we do have a training program. We have some baristas that have entered coffee competitions, and you know, we have a Slack group where baristas will be sending each other pictures of the latte art that they did that day, or feedback about coffee. So we try to keep, I mean, I feel like everyone's really passionate, and a lot of our baristas are also artists and musicians. So I think that helps too.
And they're also very tight-lipped about all the celebrities that come in and out of.
Yes. Well, we're in New York, so we like to, you know, keep that,
They don't
keep that close.
Question here is, do you do specialized blends for customers? Do they request to mix different flavored beans to create something new?
Okay. So most of our coffee, we roast a single origin coffee. Like for example, the La Cima that you got is actually from one of Maria's farms, and it's actually a certain area of the farm specifically. So we get really into different areas of the farm. So we'll roast that as a single origin coffee. People, so they can order it by that farm. We have 2 blends at our stores. We have our Heartbreaker espresso blend that we use for, you know, lattes, cappuccinos, Americanos, and that's a blend of Colombia and Ethiopia. And then we have our Momentum blend, which is our kind of a brewed coffee blend that we use different seasonal single origins in throughout the year, and that changes. We don't custom blend on site. We do, after we roast, we blend things by hand at the roastery, but we haven't done any like custom blends for people, and you know, maybe in the future, but mostly we try to focus on the single origins and promoting the different farms that we work with.
Excellent. And how do you create specialty drinks like your Halloween and holiday drinks? What influences you to come up with those?
Well, a lot of the times it's, you know, what's the weather going to be like? What's popular? What are the baristas like? So for one that we had earlier in the summer, one of the baristas, one of our Miami baristas sent out a message to everyone, hey, try this. I've just tried this with this, like experiment with this lavender syrup plus whatever. And everyone sort of votes, oh yeah, that was really good. Let's put this on the menu. So it's kind of a collaboration. Obviously in the fall, we try to do, you know, more of like the maple, the pumpkin, just because that's what people really want, like feels like comforting and familiar. But a lot of the times it really is baristas experimenting and coming up with things that they're excited about.
We talked about trends. You've just been, what was it, almost 18 years, almost 20 years you've been around, and things like oat milk have come on the market. Right. How have you seen things changing, trending over the years?
Definitely oat milk is the most popular alternative milk right now. You know, sometimes we even like run out because it's it's crazy. And then during the pandemic, people would kind of come in and order more of like the maybe a little bit sweeter drink, I think, because things were stressful. They wanted a little like more of a pick-me-up. And now we're kind of seeing people get, as they're coming back into the work, maybe like the Tuesday through Thursday crowd, they're doing like we said, the drip coffee and the brewed coffee, things like that. So it changes, but. And
we have, I'm just going to say it because I know that we have an instant coming up.
Yes, it's been in the works for a while, but, and we do like people to grind before they order, but we realize people also don't have time, and we found something that tastes really good. So we're going to launch an instant coffee that is also good if you're making a smoothie. You could just throw that in there. It works with hot or cold water. So that should be launching hopefully next week.
Little scoop there. Okay. Somebody asked if it's true that a pinch of salt enhances the flavor of a cup.
Oh my goodness. I've heard that too. We like to keep our coffee without the salt, but feel free to experiment. As if you're drinking brewed coffee, as it cools, it'll get sweeter naturally with the natural sugars in it. We actually had one customer return a coffee. It was in Miami. I think it was from actually an El Salvadorian coffee, and they said, "Oh, you must have put sugar in this because this is so sweet." And he was mad at us, but we hadn't put sugar in it, so we kind of took it as a compliment because the coffee had become so sweet that he thought we had put sugar in it. So I don't know about salt. I would just get another cup, make another fresh cup.
What's your best recommended blend for cold brew?
Cold brew is pretty, you can use anything for cold brew. It's really just grind the beans coarse and basically put it water, set it, forget it overnight and strain it. We use all different coffees. Sometimes we'll use our Momentum blend, sometimes a coffee from Colombia, but it's really a good way to use anything that you have.
Okay. Could you talk more about your online shop and what you want to do with subscriptions?
Sure. We have we have an online store where you have coffee subscriptions and people can choose between if they want coffee every week, every month. They can also get gift subscriptions for people. We have bulk coffee bags, which actually we started during the pandemic because people were drinking a lot more coffee at home and they didn't want to waste bags. So we have a bigger, a 5-pound bulk bag. And then we'll ship every month to you or every week, whatever you like.
Excellent. Anybody have any more questions from the audience?
Speaking about subscription, I also remember that Caroline said she's working on an app.
We are launching a new app, just for the ease of ordering in store, ordering ahead. So that should be coming out in hopefully a month.
And it is National Coffee Month.
Every day's coffee day. But we'll take any holidays that highlight coffee is good. Any reason to talk about coffee is good.
Does anybody have any more questions? Anything that you've been curious about? Okay. You've been tight-lipped about celebrities. I don't think that's not a fair question, whoever asked that. No, we're going to remain tight-lipped about all the celebrities who frequent Cafe Grumpy. What are your top 3 favorite coffees?
Personally, as far as coffee drinks or the coffee, okay, personally. I see that pop up there. Well, I love to drink. Well, we talked about the cappuccino, and the brewed coffee. So right now I'm actually drinking La Cima because I thought it was on topic. So that's what I have in my mug right now, brewed coffee. I don't know if you could see it. I really like coffee that is a clean, sweet cup is what we kind of say when we're talking about tasting coffee, where I don't love a super fruity coffee. I really like things to, I don't know, it's, people have there's different trends where people really natural processed coffee is a little more fruity. I kind of like to stick to the wash process, Central American coffees are my favorites.
Okay, and what are the top menu items year-round?
I'm going to say in New York, year-round it is still brewed coffee and cold brew. Okay. That's pretty consistent. Obviously, there's a switch when people start ordering iced lattes and cold brew when the weather is a certain way, but it's still drip coffee and brewed coffee in New York.
And is there a region or a country where most of the beans are coming from?
We get most of our beans from Central America. We also get beans from South America, Colombia. We get some beans from Ethiopia and Burundi, but we do get quite a few beans from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras.
Okay, great. Are there areas in the US or elsewhere you're hoping to open more shops?
We're always open to different opportunities. It's still a small business in my mind because, it is. So we've expanded organically and as much as we can with the resources that we have as a small business, but we'd like to, I'd like to get our coffee out there to more people. We're lucky that we have good grocery accounts throughout the country and we have some great wholesale accounts. We would like to add another location in our Miami area because that's been quite popular. So, yeah, we're always looking, because I feel like it's the brand itself, I feel like is approachable, and I feel like when people see the logo, they feel like, I don't know, it's like their little friend or something that gets them how they feel before coffee. So I really think that it could do well, like all over the country.
And it's available online and subscription and in Whole Foods. So it is expanding, and that cafe culture that Caroline has created. Again, there's a uniqueness in each one, so it would adapt to whatever location and environment it's landed in. Well, any other questions from anybody here? We can always arrange one-on-one interviews with Caroline. If anybody's in the New York area or coming to the New York area, Caroline has offered to do a personal tour of Cafe Grumpy and show everybody the roaster and the roasting process. And if there are any other beans products that you want to try, we're happy to send them to you, and you will all have a subscription with Cafe Grumpy, so you can experiment with the coffees. And I want to just thank you again for coming, and let us know if you have any follow-up questions, and we'll send you a recording of this as well. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Pam. Thanks, everyone.